Okay, welcome back to the channel. This was from a trip earlier in the season, before my private lessons really took off. Now I'm sitting on a mountain of footage I hardly have time to edit. Now people often ask what actually happens during the private lessons, and I'll show you a snippet from a recent one. So I generally start off just observing a cast retrieve cycle or two. And I spend the next couple of hours explaining the correct jigging mechanics involved. In this case, the end result is pretty satisfying to watch. Angel is now a jigging machine. His movements are crisp, he's feeling the jig at all times, and he's killing it out there on the Fluke grounds. Anyway, that's one component of it. There's a lot more that gets covered during the lesson, but nothing else matters much until your jigging mechanics are down. Okay, so I started off this trip with a single jig, but as soon as I figured out these fish were willing to eat the jerkbait, even in this dingy water clarity, I switched over immediately. Here I'm using my 9-foot Librax AGS paired to the Stella FK3000 MHG. I'll leave links to all my gear, line, tackle setup in the description below. It's a longer rod than I normally like for jerkbaiting, but it gets the job done. The rod weighs just a hair over 4 ounces and it has very respectable tip recovery for a longer surf rod or a Japanese Suzuki style surf rod. If I want it, I'm going to measure him. Oh fuck, this net. So this is probably the only time you'll see me measuring a 17-inch fish. I've actually been getting quite a few questions and comments on this topic, so I want to briefly address why I personally refuse to count slot fish as part of a fluke limit on this channel. Aside from the fact that a 1-inch slot is idiotic from a conservation point of view, it really comes down to standards. The 18-inch minimum has been the New Jersey fluke keeper size for at least a decade. A pre-2022 double or triple limit of 18-inch fluke from shore is an accomplishment on any given trip. A quadruple, quintuple, sextuple limit is a rare thing indeed, and counting 17-inch fish as keepers negates that accomplishment. And also, we run out of Latin for video titles. I think we're up to decouple limit on this channel at this point. So by all means, take advantage of the slot fish for dinner. And if anyone wants to count 17-inch fish as their limit and post it on social media, more power to you. In the end, everyone sets their own goals and standards. As you can see with most of these fish, I'm turning them in slow figure-8 circles around the dock. With Fluke, you have to keep up a slow momentum going forward, never letting them stall at any point, and most importantly, try to keep their head from breaking the surface until they're in the net. Now, this 9-foot rod is a bit awkward in this scenario for sure. On a beach, it's perfect because you're just dragging the fish onto land, but here you actually have to either net them or swing them up at your feet, and the 9-foot rod is always sort of in danger of high sticking or bending at awkward angles. But like I said, you do get used to it. I think I sort of grip up towards the blank a little bit when I go and try to land these fish. The tide at this point is starting to move a little, and on this cast you'll see me use the current to float my jerkbait into a little pocket. Okay, here you're about to see a pretty shitty net job. Remember guys, always lead fish into the net head first. Oh, Jesus, you played dead. Take care, man. Jesus Christ. Okay, so this is pretty interesting. I had a fluke come up to my jerkbait twice without committing. Now, I generally don't find color mattering all that much to fluke, but apparently it did for this fish. I went from a chromy, flashy color to a more translucent, see-through natural pattern. And on the third cast, she absolutely choked it. And by the way, what I said about leading them in slow figure eights, that only applies to a dock or boat or kayak where you end up netting the fish. That's when things can go pear-shaped, is maneuvering the fluke into the net. From a beach is completely different. You want to put maximum pressure on the fish to glide them onto sand as soon as possible. So you see right there, that fluke took a run. And the reason I didn't try to net that fish while I had it on the surface doing those lazy circles is I knew that run was coming. This fluke ate almost at the surface and it hardly even fought at all. So if you try to net a fish prematurely, that's when they're going to dive and do their backward swimming and all their bag of tricks that a fluke has up their sleeve. You need to make sure that they're as predictable as you can render them by the time you slip the net into the water. So that last fluke ate at the surface, which makes for great footage, but this next fish is why I throw the jerkbait every chance I get. Just a bone-jarring strike trying to take the rod out of my hand is so much fun when they eat a jerkbait like that. In any case, hope you guys enjoy the video. Anyone interested in private lessons, I left all my contact info in the description. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you on the next one.